how to complete a commercial purchase agreement. There are some differences between the two, but there are also some similarities between the two. Now, whether you're an experienced agent or a new agent, you would appreciate certain things that ZipForm has to offer, and I'm going to show you those things. Before I go to ZipForm, I want to take you to my CRMLS. That way, we can actually use some real listing in preparing our ZipForm. So I'm going to punch in my user ID and my password. Now I'm just going to use a commercial transaction that I find in the MLS for the illustration. Okay, so if I go to search, let's say I go to search, I search commercial, okay, I search this one, commercial. I'm going to click commercial. Commercial, let's say sale, okay, and let's say I'm just going to simply pick one just for purposes of illustration. Let's say I'm going to pick one that says mixed use, okay, active listing. I see 359. That's a lot, okay. How about I just go to a certain city, let's say city of, let's say San Gabriel, okay. Let's say I want to look for mixed use in San Gabriel. So there are 4 matches, right? Now, if you can see this, I'm just going to open it. Now, so this is one where I'm going to use, okay? Let's say I'm going to use this one as my example, mixed use. Let me go ahead and write down the MLS number. So this will be WS2102947. So that is the listing number that I'm going to input into my zip form, okay? So I'm interested in preparing an offer for this particular transaction, okay? So let me go inside my zip form. Okay, I'm gonna click continue. Click skip. Since I'm preparing a new offer, I'm gonna click new, okay? New purchase or offer. And this is a commercial, so you gotta check commercial box, okay? And then you're gonna say save, okay? I want the address. So I don't know what the address is. How about I try to use, hold on, I can go back and get the address. 1045 East Boulevard, number 1, East Valley Boulevard, number A103. So I'm gonna go here and put down 1045, okay? And take a peep again. It's actually East Valley Boulevard. Who's here? Joanna Cruz, thanks for joining. So I'm gonna put East Valley and I believe this is in San Gabriel. You see, I want to point out something to you. even before I finish typing the address, right away I see the address popping up. This is the system telling me that I got a match. So I'm going to click this one, right? But then the problem is that it doesn't have a unit number. So I'm going to have to put A103 in here and see if I have any match. It doesn't appear I have a match. So 1045 East Boulevard, A103, and that is in the city of San Gabriel. Okay, now let me see if I can fix that. So I got this one here. Maybe, that makes a difference. So see, as you type the address, you got to make sure the address is complete. Even the pound sign is missing can throw off the system. So you got to make sure that you are able to find a match. So as soon as you find a match, go ahead and click that because that is going to save you a bunch of time. I'm going to do Record Connect, okay? And then I'm going to do MLS Connect and see what happens. Now this is from CRMLS. Now make sure you change the listing type to commercial, okay? Commercial sale. And then earlier, I copied down the listing number. So it's going to be WS 210 29479. So 29479. Okay. And then I want to see if I can find this listing. Okay, it's not giving me, let me double check the listing number. WS 210 See, I mistyped it. So it's 29479. 29479. This is a commercial. So WS 210 Okay. Let me see what kind of listing this is because sometimes you had the type of listing wrong. It wouldn't show up as well. So this is so this is property subtype mixed use. Property type is commercial sale. I think I have the right one. It's commercial sale. So WS 210 WS 210 Okay. And it should give me the right address though. And this is CRMLS. And fine. Now it shows up. Good. Okay, so now I can use it. So once it pops up, now this is called MLS Connect. It will save you a lot of time having to retype everything because now everything can be populated. So you see, so you say use listing. Okay, so the name, I can actually retype the name is actually number A103, right? And then San Gabriel. So, okay, so I got that. Good. Commercial sale. WS 210 What? I thought I got it earlier. Okay, good. Use listings. Commercial, active, set. Save it. Cannot be found. So it doesn't like the property address. Okay. Then don't worry about it. Then you just go ahead and, you know, uh, enter it manually because now it's already populated everything for me, right? So, and then it is an active listing. Listing broker, but I don't have the seller's name because I don't have the what I call that, the record connect. So if I need to do the record connect, and so this is the seller's name. This is actually from record connect. So that's the first seller's name. You want to know which is first name and which is last name. You see this owner name right here. So usually if it's from the realist tax, they will usually give you the seller's name as last name here. So Wang is the last name. So if you want to put the first name first and last name last, you pick the first option. Same thing with the second one, you pick the first option. Okay, so all right, so this one, I'll click yes on that. Okay, hello Alec, thanks for joining. All right, so the parties, I'll double check the parties. I got the seller one and seller two. And then if you look at the listing agent and broker, apparently the listing agent is selling his own property. That's why the listing agent and the seller's name are the same. Okay, just FYI, so you know. Okay, all right. So I will be the selling agent. I represent the buyer. Okay. Now let's go to the document. Now there's one other party though. I don't have the buyer yet, so I need to input the buyer's name, right? So let's go ahead and input some fictitious buyer's name. So how about I just use somebody from my contact, okay? And this is the buyer's name. Let me see if I can find somebody here. So I do save. So I got my buyer's name here, okay? And then I need to review my buyer's name. And then her email, I'm just gonna, for purposes of illustration, I'm just gonna use my email for now, okay? But I should be using her email, okay? So I'm gonna save it now. So I saved the buyer's name, all right? So I got the buyer and I got the seller, I got the listing agent, and then I've got the selling agent. So now let's go to the form because if I open up the form, I will be delighted to find that much of the information has been filled in. So, so what I need to do is to import the proper form into my file. So I'll go to here and pick commercial purchase agreement. So commercial property purchase agreement, this is the one that I want to use. Okay. So I got this form imported into my file already, right? So let's go ahead and open up the form. And I want you to see that my buyer's name is already in here. It's populated. I got to check this box buyer. And my name, the company name is here. So I'm just going to input the company's license number. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to input my own license number. Okay. So that's done. That's the agency disclosure, the first and second page. And then the third one is just the Fair Housing and Discrimination Advisory. Apparently, our association thinks that it is important to give the parties fair housing advisory. And I think it's a good thing, especially in this environment. There is a lot of racial hatred around here. So I think it's important to remind people that, fair housing should be respected. So let's go ahead, skip the advisory. So you got buyer's name populated, seller's name populated. Now, as you can see, the seller's name actually came from Record Connect. Record Connect is actually a subscription service. So if you want to save yourself a bunch of time, subscribe to Record Connect, because by searching for the right property, it will automatically import all the public information from real estate tax in a zip form. So you don't have to guess, or you don't have to have face the risk of typing in the wrong name, is typo and everything. There's no typo when you use Record Connect. Okay, so it's all populated. And then you got the wire fraud and electronic funds transfer advisory. Now, this is the form that is telling people that be careful when you transfer money by wire transfer, because there are a lot of fraudsters out there. So if you receive an email from the escrow about the wiring information, make sure you call up the escrow to confirm that this is in fact their account number and in fact their routing number, because we have had agents who had received fraud emails or fraudulent wire transfer, wire instruction. So we got to make sure that we give the parties the advisory. Now this is the important form that we want to talk about today. That is the commercial property purchase agreement and joint escrow instruction. The way it is set up is not different from any residential ones, but there are some important provision in here I just want to point out to you. Okay. Now on the first page, you have the buyer's name. If buyer is individual, you need to check this box. Okay. Yeah, buyer's name, you need to check this box. So you got to have the capacity of the buyer indicated. So buyer's individual, you check it here. Corporation, you check here. Partnership, you check here. LLC, you check here. And then the property address is all automatically populated, because if I use MLS Connect, the information, we assume that the information from the MLS is pretty accurate. And moreover, actually the address information comes from Record Connect and not from MLS Connect. MLS Connect will only give you the agent's information, not the, what I call that, the property information. So there are two things. Record Connect gives you property information, which is what the address is showing here. This one actually comes from the realist. MLS Connect gives you the agent's contact information, agent's name, the listing agent. So you don't have to retype everything. It saves you a lot of time. Okay. You see the APN number? This actually comes from Record Connect, same as the address. So I will be making a cash offer. But my buyer needed more time to close, so I'm going to choose 45 days. It's no difference from residential so far, okay, right here. And then you need to remember to check the box if the seller represents, listing agent represent the seller only, so you check this box. And then of course, I represent the buyer only. Then I check the buyer's agent right here, okay? Now, usually for the deposit, I put 3%. Now let's talk about the price. I will randomly put a price here. Let's see what the listing price is. Listing price is 449,000. This one is rather inexpensive. Okay, all right. I'm just gonna do a full price offer on this one. Okay, 400. Okay, I'll make it easy. I'll use 500,000 as my purchase price. So don't forget your purchase price. So 500,000, my purchase price. So I go a little bit above the listing price. Now 3% of, now for the deposit, unless stated otherwise, you always use 3%. So 3% of 500,000. Oh, I'm missing a zero here. That's more like it. So 3% of 500,000 is actually 15,000. Okay, standard rule, but it can be higher or it can be lower. Now the rest of it, I use the default. The default is wire transfer within 3 business days, so I don't change this. Now because I'm making a cash offer, I have to indicate it's cash. So I check cash right here. Now if it's not cash offer, then you would uncheck this box. For example, if it's a first loan, say for example 50% down, the loan amount will be 250,000. Okay, but that if it's you have a loan. But my example here, I'm using all cash, so I'll check this all cash box. Okay, and then the system will do the math for me. I don't worry about the math. Now the date, don't forget to change the date. If you screw up on the date, the whole thing is screwed up. So easy thing to do will be to go ahead and click this and put down today's date. Okay, 2/1, and then it will be 03, and that's 30, of course, right? Okay, so you got the date right. So let's go to the next page. If it's something the same as residential, I'm not going to point it out to you just to save some time. Okay, so looks like everything else in here is pretty much similar to residential, so I'm gonna skip them. Now, because it is a cash offer, so I would have to check. Actually, you know what? If it's an all cash offer, the system would not even check. Let me check no loan contingency because it's cash offer. So it's assumed there's no loan contingency. There's no need to check the loan contingency box because it's cash, right? Now, none of this stuff applies, so I skip them. You will only check them if it applies. However, the standard check mark for buyer's inspection advisory, that form is always included in the package, so this box is always checked. Now, this is Southern California, so natural hazard disclosure is usually the seller that pays for it, okay? So in this case, I'm just gonna write seller's choice. There's no need to fight with the seller about this, so make the seller happy. So I put seller's choice. That is a $100 expense, so I make the seller pay for it. Now in the NHD, I always include environmental, so the NHD that the seller provide has to include environmental. Now because this is a commercial, I'm just gonna leave other things that pertain to residential out of the offer. And then the government retrofit, my standard is I always check 1 and 2, but I omit 3 because most sellers don't like this one right here, which is 2 Roman 2. Okay, skip that. And then the escrow in Southern California is 50-50. So buyer, seller, you check the box, you go 50-50, right? So you say 50-50 split, okay? Oops, what did I do? So you say 50-50 split, okay? And that's it, that takes care of it, okay? And the rest of it, title insurance, Southern California, we always make the seller pay, right? And then in this case, I pick Chicago Title, any fan. It can be any other title company of your choice, okay? I don't want to specify that you have to use a particular title company. I just prefer Chicago at the moment until they screw up. Other costs, we always make the seller pay for the transfer tax. City transfer tax, most of the time there isn't any city transfer tax. I know in San Gabriel there's no city transfer tax, so I skip that one. But in some cities there may be city transfer tax, especially in Northern California. There are many cities that have city transfer tax. So you guys that are in Southern California, are not used to seeing CD transfer text, so you're not used to checking this box. But be careful, those of you that are in Northern California. Okay, so I'm going to assume no CD transfer tax. HOA, commercial, sometimes they may have HOA, so we have to pay attention to owners association transfer fee. This one I don't see a lot, but I'm just going to check it just in case. So I'm just going to say if applicable. Now, if it's applicable, I'm going to make the seller pay for it. Owner fees for preparing all documents other than required. I always make the seller pay for this one. Okay. Private transfer fee, usually there isn't any. You can verify it. But if you're one of those that are afraid of leaving anything out, you can always say something like if applicable. Okay. Just so that there is no dispute later on. Okay. And sometimes these days commercial real estate may have solar panel as well. Now the thing about solar panel is that there is a standard provision here. I just want to explain to you how the standard provision works for solar panel. For solar panel, sometimes the owner may lease the solar panel. Now, if the owner has a solar panel lease, then solar assumption of the solar panel lease by the buyer is a contingency for not only for the buyer, also for the seller. So if you are a buyer and if it's disclosed to you that there's a solar panel, you can agree to assume the solar panel, or you can let the seller know that you don't want to agree to assume the solar panel. But if you tell the seller you don't want to assume the solar panel lease, then the seller may exercise the seller's contingency and said he wants to cancel. So that is something that you want to communicate with the listing agent. If the buyer does not want to assume the solar panel lease, most buyer would assume. Okay, it's a standard provision, so we don't have any options here. And other items, if it applies to residential, I'm not going to go over it, but I'm going to go over something that applies to commercial. Now, commercial, yes, on number 10, B1 rental service agreement. Now, that is something that is applicable to commercial. Okay, so make sure you read this part and also income and expense statement. So if you are the listing agent, make sure you get this thing ready for the buyers. Okay. Before you put it on the market, get it ready, the income and expense statement. Tenant estoppel certificate, definitely if it's a income property, you want to get a tenant estoppel certificate. So if you submit the offer, make sure you check this box. I always check this box, tenant estoppel certificate. If you don't know what a tenant estoppel certificate is, I will have a special training for that. I got no time to talk to you about tenant estoppel certificate today. The other stuff like survey plans and engineering the documents, that is a standard provision in the commercial purchase agreement. So get this ready. Permits, yes. Structural modification, government compliance, these are all standard. These are things that listing agent may ask the seller if they have any. Of course, if the seller doesn't have any, then you don't have to worry about them. But if the seller has it, you're supposed to ask the seller to turn it over to you so you can share it with the buyer. Okay. Now, violation compliant notice, violation notices, that is something that you, as a listing agent, you're supposed to inquire of the seller because it is a standard provision in the offer. As a buyer's agent, when I complete the offer, I usually don't even go over this stuff with my buyer because this is for their protection. So I'm just going to tell them that, I'm just going to tell them the essential terms. The standard ones, I'm just going to tell them that these provisions are for their protection, so they don't have to worry about them. But the solar panel definitely want to have that discussion. Okay, the rest standard stuff like in the residential, so I will not go over. Okay, however, on this page right here, where it says environmental survey, don't forget to check number 12, environmental survey. Now, if you don't know what an environmental survey is, if you are involved in a commercial real estate, you should know what a environmental survey is. You have the phase one environmental site assessment and or the phase two environmental site assessment. If the buyer has a loan, the lender will definitely want the buyer to pay for the phase one environmental site assessment. Okay, now, if you don't know what it is, we'll have a discussion about it in the future, but not today. I don't have time for that. Okay, but just make sure you check this box. And then you can just leave the rest of it as default. You don't have to change anything else. Okay, now the rest of it is just default, default, default. Okay, unless there's the need to change anything here. This is all the rest of it is just default. That's it. And then you can go ahead and set up your DocuSign. Okay, you see the agent's information is automatically populated. I don't even have to type anything. That is the benefit of subscribing to MLS Connect. It saves you tons of time. Okay, now if you use an assistant to prepare this for you, your assistant would appreciate it. Okay, so this is all done. So once this is done, okay, then you're just gonna click save. You're supposed to save this thing. Okay, after you save it, then you go back and review it, and then send it to your buyer. In this case, click e-sign and send it to your buyer. Okay. All right. So that's it for the training on a commercial purchase agreement. Now, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave your questions in the comments so I can respond to your questions.